Today I'm going to be doing a video on the new Ring Doorbell Wired. This is a model that came out in February of 2021, and it is incredibly tiny compared to the previous generations of doorbells. For example, when I got this in the mail, I could not believe how small this box was. I mean, look at it in comparison to the Video Doorbell 2. I mean, it is just the packaging alone is so much smaller. So why don't we go ahead and open this. So it's really sleek the way it's all packaged. You have the instructions and all that stuff in there. Here you have a little kit here with the doorbell, which is here. So I mean, it is a really nice, has a really nice form factor. I mean, it is it's going to look so much nicer by the front door, and it's going to just be able to fit into just, you know, a lot of different places. The kit also comes with a screwdriver, which they always seem to include one of these screwdrivers, and it has this jumper wire, which I'll explain more what this is for when we go to install it. And it also includes some screws. This is to this basically screw on the bottom that secures your doorbell after you install it. I'll show you that during the installation. And some fasteners and some wall anchors. So stick around and we'll go through the steps on how to install this. I'm going to be replacing it with replacing my Video Doorbell 2 with the new wired one. I have existing doorbell wiring there, so there's no reason to have this big massive thing when I can have this. So we'll get to that. If you like this video, if you find it to be helpful, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel and go ahead and put a comment below. Before I go ahead and start the installation, there are a couple of things that you have to keep in mind with this wired, with the doorbell wired, versus the previous generations that have a battery pack. So one thing is, you must deactivate your existing doorbell that's in your house, and you will no longer have that hardwired doorbell in your house. So you're going to need to have a one of the Ring Chimes, or you can need an Echo Dot or something similar that will alert you when somebody presses your doorbell. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you know, and I think the name implies that it's the doorbell wired, you're going to need to have doorbell wiring at, you know, by your door. And it's going to have to be within these voltage ranges, between 10 and 24 volts. Most doorbells, that's the case, so that really shouldn't be an issue if you have an existing doorbell. So those are just a couple things that you're going to have to keep in mind. So when you go to bypass the doorbell in your house, that's what this jumper wire is going to be for. So I'll show you that when I start doing the install. The first thing that you're going to need to do is turn the power off to your doorbell. So after turning off the power at the circuit breaker, the next step will be to install a jumper wire between the wires that are on your doorbell itself. So the instructions, we're talking about connecting from the front to the transformer connection. But in my particular case, it looks like my doorbell is connected up to the rear rather than the front. So for me, I'm going to have to connect the jumper between this screw and this screw. Okay, so now you can see that I have the jumper connected between the two screws where the wiring is coming in. Now you may only have one wire coming in on each of these. I have two because I had a second doorbell installed at one point in time. So, but you may only have one wire coming in on each of these. But in any case, the jumper needs to be connected to the two screws with the wires coming in. So this is where I'm going to be replacing my Ring Video Doorbell 2 with the new Ring wired doorbell. So again, I'm amazed at the size of these things. I mean, it is, you can see it's just a fraction of the size of the existing one. And by having this smaller size, it is going to allow me a little more flexibility on where I want to mount it. So I never really liked where it was mounted. I didn't like the angle. As you can see, I had a stack, multiple angle brackets and all that stuff, and I just never really liked it. I didn't like how low it was, so because it's harder to see somebody's face. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the little one just right here on the corner piece, on the corner trim piece, instead of where it's at, or maybe just a little bit lower right here. But in any case, I'm going to mount it higher than the one I had there. And what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to extend the doorbell wiring. I'm going to have to replace this piece of trim because it has a hole in it, but I have some extra trim. So I'm going to end up replacing this trim and running the wires behind and come out, you know, a little bit higher up here. So let's get to it. The first thing that I need to do is I need to take out the screw on the bottom of the old one so that I can remove this front face here, which is a little difficult to get off sometime. You got to kind of squeeze and pull it. After that, I can take off the screws, unscrew the old one. I can pull it off and I can disconnect the wires on the back. So there, I got the old one off. Then I'm going to go ahead and remove these old angle brackets, which, like I said, I never really liked them stacked up anyway. It just was kind of hokey looking. So as you can see, there's holes from different mounting things that I had done. So I'm going to have to, when I go to move this doorbell wiring or extend it, I'm going to have to just replace this trim because I'm going to mount the new doorbell up here. Okay, now that I got the new doorbell wires run to where I want them to be, then we need to mark and drill the holes for the new doorbell. So you can just do that simply by holding it up, and I'm just going to drill some pilot holes just right through here. Get it lined up on the bottom, and drill the lower hole. So I got my two holes there. So now I need to attach the wires to the screws. So backing out the screws on the back of the new doorbell, and then, sorry if I'm blocking your view, but I'm just hooking up the wires to the back of the new doorbell. I apologize for any of the background noise going on. I have some neighborhood kids out enjoying the snowy weather that we're having. Now that I have the wires attached to the back of the doorbell, I'm going to screw the doorbell into place. I need to now get the wires tucked in behind the siding and get it all hidden back in there as best I can. So after attaching the doorbell, I can then go and turn the circuit breaker back on. Now the final step of this process will be to put the trim, the cover trim plate back on. Just push that on into place. And then it will be to install the little screw, the little security screw. So that just gets screwed in right there on the bottom, and then it's done. Then the only thing you have to do after all this is go through the setup in the app.